Improvements of the telescope. First telescopes. The first thought of a telescope was in 1608 by a German-Dutch guy named Hans Lippershey. He said he came up with the idea and design of a telescope so we could see things far away as if they were nearby. In 1609, an Italian guy called Galileo Galilei built a better one than that design, and he discovered the four largest moons of Jupiter, sunspots on the surface of the Sun, phases of Venus, and physical features of the Moon using the telescope that he built. The first reflecting telescope. In 1668, Sir Isaac Newton created the first working reflecting telescope. When he was making it, he took the lenses out of the telescope and replaced them with mirrors, but there was a problem with there being too much light and colours going out the side of the telescope, so he added a second mirror which bounced that light to the eyepiece, which worked. Reflecting telescopes are called Newton's reflectors now. Bigger telescopes. In 1789, two English guys built a 12-meter Newton reflector telescope. It was the first giant reflector telescope. In 1845, Williams Parsons built a 72-inch reflecting telescope. That telescope was called the Levitation of Parsonstown, and it was the biggest telescope in the world for nearly 80 years. The biggest then became in 1917 when George Hale created a 100-inch telescope, which was in the Mount Wilson Observatory. It was called the Hooker Telescope, named after John Hooker, who Hale found in Los Angeles because he was interested to have his name attached. From then onwards, the next one was made 200 inches in 1948, then in 1976, a 238-inch one, then in 1993, a 394-inch telescope, and the most recent was 409 inches, and it was in 2009. Radio telescopes. The first radio telescope was made by Grote Reber in 1937. He created the first telescope that could pretty much see radio waves, which are invisible to our eyes. The first radio telescope was 9 meters, which is also 30 feet, and it was in his backyard. Radio telescopes were first used to find out about radio emissions from meteoroids and solar storms. Biggest radio telescope today is about as big as 30 football fields, and the biggest before that was in Puerto Rico, which was 1,000 foot wide or 300 meters, and it's called the Arabico Observatory. Modern telescopes. Modern telescopes are used everywhere. You can buy them and have them in your house. You can go to an observatory and look at some of the bigger and biggest telescopes. They have found a lot of stuff in history, and you can look up how they work and what observations they have found, and you'll find it. People can sometimes see and know star signs like the Southern Cross. Telescopes are pretty common in this time.